All right, this morning we're talking about bullying and what to do about it, especially if you're a parent. And so many folks go through this. Joining us this morning is Dr. Cheryl Rode. She's the Senior Director of Clinical Programs from the San Diego Center for Children. She's here to tell us more with how to deal about this. Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. You say first and foremost, we've got to talk openly about this. Tell us more about this.
Sure. It's really important as parents that we play a role in helping to prevent bullying and to help our children should they experience it. So to do that, it has to be an open conversation. We have to talk about bullying before it ever happens so that our kids know what it is and they know to come and talk to us when it does happen.
Bullying is such a buzzword right now.
Yes.
How do you know the difference between somebody just saying something that they shouldn't have said, maybe a mean comment on Facebook or wherever, and actual bullying? What's the difference?
That's a really good question, because kids do some mean things, sometimes intentionally, sometimes not intentionally.
Right.
But bullying is different. So bullying is a kind of aggressive behavior, and it occurs with intention, it occurs repeatedly, and it involves an imbalance of power. So you have one child who has more power, who is in some way threatening a child who has less power and can't stand up for themselves. So that's what makes bullying different than just kind of typical kid behavior.
All right, next thing you say, you really want to encourage your child to tell you if they're experiencing bullying, because so often kids especially are ashamed about it. It's embarrassing.
It's very embarrassing. Whether it happens in public or it happens privately, kids are often very reluctant to tell us about it. So that's why talk about this with your kids early and often, because the best thing for a child to do is to come and talk to a trusted adult. It might be you, the parent, it might be a favorite teacher at school, or maybe there's a school counselor or vice principal who takes a role in the school around bullying. But it is the adult's responsibility to make sure that schools are safe and that bullying behavior stops.
Once your child has told you, you need to give them the tools to handle it and to equip themselves to respond. How do you tell your child to respond to this?
Well, let me tell you what not to do first.
Okay.
So I know that it's kind of typical teaching to just stand up for yourself or just ignore it. But we know from lots of research with kids that that doesn't actually help. That often makes the situation worse. And kids who are bullied, they're bullied because they have a hard time standing up for themselves in the first place. So that's why I say it's really important to talk to an adult, have that child identify who would you go to, who would you trust to talk to about this, so that when it does happen, the child feels prepared to do that.
And so do you recommend, if it happens at school, then telling the child to go talk to the administrators?
Maybe an administrator, but it might be easier to start with a teacher that child feels comfortable with, or maybe, you know, a counselor or a coach, whoever it is that child identifies as a safe and trusting person.
Next, you say don't ignore the problem, and then you say learn about what your child's school is doing to address bullying.
Yes.
I know so many schools have zero tolerance policy, but do they really when it comes down to it? What are you supposed to do?
Right. It's really important.
If school's not responding.
Right. As parents, we need to know what those policies are, and we need to have open conversation with our schools about what to do if it's happening with our child. So every school does have some kind of policy or process, but like you said, what if they're not really following up? Well, you can go to your district and talk to the district level. Our County Office of Education here in San Diego has some great resources and some experts in the area of bullying. And they can come to your schools and help to provide the resources and the information, because there are some great programs out there that really make a huge difference on school campuses.
So how do we find those? What do we do for parents that are seeking those out?
Well, start with your own school, because most schools do have a school-wide program. So learn what that is. Learn what actions they take when bullying is happening. And if that's not satisfying, then do call the San Diego County Office of Education and ask them. At San Diego Center, we have a couple of models that we use, and we've had support from the County Office of Education to develop those school-wide programs that, first of all, teach adults how to intervene, because it is the adult's responsibility. But secondly, to teach other kids how to look out for and to support one another, to build a culture where kids will stand up for each other and not tolerate bullying.
What if you suspect this is going on with your child, but your child's not talking to you about it and just refuses to give you information?
Right. And that absolutely does happen. So I think being persistent and bringing up the conversation, and then you as a parent going to the school and saying, gosh, I have some concerns. Here's what I'm observing. Let me know what's happening. Please include me in the conversation if you see anything happening, and being persistent.
Very good. Chrissy has a quick question. Chrissy?
I apologize if I missed it and you said it, but A lot of times, the parents, the teachers, and the principals, as kind-hearted as they are, don't have the answers. I mean, they don't know what to tell. I mean, what do you tell the parents and the teachers to say to the kids when the kids say, I think I'm being bullied? What do they say?
And that's why schools need to have policies in place so that the adults do know what to do, because you're right, lots of times adults don't know how to respond. And so a good program at a school is going to teach the adults, here's how we respond. We have to be very direct with our kids. We have to notice it happening, and we have to be willing to step in right away as adults and say, hey, that behavior is not okay. Zero tolerance means we really take action to stop the behavior. Stop the behavior from happening.
All right, Chrissy.
Okay, so little Joe, my dad, when he was teaching me about bullying and taught me how to fight, that probably was not the right thing. No, okay. Well, that's when I learned I was, a good fighter. Okay, I am a talented fighter. Go figure.